Hello and welcome to this week's video. My name is Anuska Taylor. So great to have you here. On today's video, I'm going to be sharing something with you that's going to help you access a more immediate change to the sound of your voice. So if you perceive your voice to be a little bit shrilly or a little bit nasally, or maybe very heavy and dramatic, then I'm going to be sharing with you how you can start to move into a richer, fuller voice. So first of all, we have to understand a little bit about what we're dealing with the voice. And I do like to give a little bit of science because then I think it helps you to really understand what it is you're doing. So there are three essentials for speech or voice production. And I'm sure you're aware of the first one, which is your breath or respiration. We need the breath to power the voice. There is no voice without breath. Now, I'm not talking about breath today, but just to know it's absolutely essential. Secondly is phonation, which is essentially the vocal folds or vocal cords vibrating to create sound waves. So they are housed in the larynx, which is in your throat. Men have an Adam's apple, a slightly bigger larynx. Absolutely essential. Again, you wouldn't have a voice if you didn't have a larynx. Again, we're not talking about that specifically today, but we are going to be talking about number 3, which is resonance. And you've probably heard, if you watch my videos, I've talked about vocal resonance before. Absolutely essential. If you're serious about stepping into your power as a speaker and accessing greater power, clarity, and expression, then finding more resonance in your voice is essential. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, you can think of resonance as really the amplification, the modification, and enhancement of those sound waves. So as they leave the vocal folds have been vibrating, they enter into the vocal tract, which is essentially from the larynx to the lips, and it's kind of like a tube, really. And this tube can be modified to enhance, maximize, optimize, amplify these sound waves. So this is why we know we can change the voice, because there's obviously elements that we can't change. The size of our larynx, for one, once it's grown to its full adult size, there's not a lot we can do about that, but there's a lot we can do within resonance, within the vocal tract. And this is what I want to share with you today, because when you don't understand it, then you don't even know what's possible. It's like you're sitting on a pot of gold, but you don't even realize. And this is what really a lot of voice coaching is about, helping you to access the fullest resonance in your voice. Before I start getting into the nitty-gritty of this, just to understand a little bit, probably the voices that you find most appealing, whether you're aware of this or not, are probably very resonant. So if you think about any actors or TV personalities or film stars or whoever, it could be someone in your life, your partner, and you think, I love their voice, the chances are it is very resonant. Now, this isn't just me saying this as a vocal coach. This is science that has proved that the human ear actually gets excited by more resonance in the voice. So really, really important to understand this. Also, I just want to say that all voices are resonant to some extent, but there's a lot of things that we know hinder resonance. So big one is constriction and tension. So if you have a lot of jaw tension or throat tension, or your breathing is very shallow and high, or you're holding a lot of tension in your facial muscles, then the chances are your voice isn't going to be as resonant. Another one, I mean, there's many actually, but these are just a couple of the big ones. So tension and constriction, massive impact. And most people have some tension and constriction. A lot of people have a lot, but they just don't realize. Another one is when the voice is sitting at the back of your throat. I've talked about this before. You can never have full resonance in your voice if your voice is talking at the back of your throat. So bringing the voice forward is so important. But there's just a couple of examples of how the voice is hindered from accessing its full resonance capability. And these are things you can change. You can't change them if you don't know that you're doing them in the first place. So the first step is always awareness. But let's first of all look then a little bit more at how this might be showing up in your voice. So how we can begin to explore resonance in our voice, one of the easiest ways is to start to feel the sympathetic vibrations in our body. And one of the challenges with working on your voice, if you've done anything at all or tried to do something, is you can't see your voice. So the concept is often very abstract for people. Often what we're asked to do in training doesn't make logical sense to the mind, but this is where it can become quite challenging. So from a resonance perspective, starting to focus on the sympathetic vibrations that you feel is a really good starting point. Now, you may do this and not feel anything, and that's fine. Just start from where you are, but the goal is really to start to feel your voice. And this is why I say all the time to people, go for feeling before sound, because the sound will always follow the feeling. So really starting to get in touch with your voice, build that kinesthetic awareness with your voice, and start to feel the vibrations when you speak, because what you hear in your head is not what anyone else hears. So if you're going by what you hear in your head, it's not a very good gauge. What is a good gauge is to feel your voice, feel the vibrations, feel the sound, and just start to become aware. So by focusing on these sympathetic vibrations, we can really start to bring the voice to life. And this is going to directly help us to access greater resonance. Now, as with everything voice related, you can't do this once for 2 minutes and never do it again. You have to actually spend some time consistently, daily, to start to embed this. But it's a really good starting point just to become aware of this, first of all. So we can think about resonance. And again, remembering this is abstract, so this isn't actually what's happening, but to help us start to connect to this, we can think about resonance in 3 areas. We can think about chest resonance, we can think about sort of mouth resonance, and we can think about head resonance. Now, obviously you don't have vocal cords in your chest or your head or your mouth, but forget that for the moment. Just focus on the feelings in your chest. If you're someone that predominantly lives in this sort of chest resonance place, your voice will probably feel quite heavy and quite dramatic. And, you know, if you really get in touch with your voice, you will kind of start to feel it in your chest. If you're someone that predominantly lives in this middle mouthy place, we'll call it the mouthy place, then your voice might sound very over precise and prissy. And sometimes when people have been taught, perhaps, or they've read something in a book that they need to articulate more, they start talking like this, but it just sounds really over the top and it doesn't sound natural and it doesn't sound authentic. So again, if you live in that place, maybe there's a bit of an over the top articulation going on. It just doesn't sound very natural and it sounds a little bit prissy and precise, and it's not actually very attractive to listen to. And then finally, if you're someone that lives more in this head resonance place, then you may find that your voice has a lot of nasality, like excessive nasality. So you're talking up here, or it could be quite shrill. And I've certainly worked with clients before that are very aware that their voice is quite shrill. And so what we're trying to do, the aim of this is to balance all 3. So you're not just living in the head, the mouth, or the chest. You are living in this balance of all 3. And again, this is easier said than done, particularly if this is completely new to you. So what do you get from each of the 3 areas then, which together give you this ultimate voice? Well, starting with the chest. So when we can really connect to the chest resonance, so if you live in the head, for example, and you're missing the chest or the mouth, what the chest resonance will give you is that depth and that warmth. And that's what we all want, or we want to be able to tap into it at least as a speaker. So it gives that voice that richness, that depth, and that warmth. The mouth resonance, so that gives you clarity, precision, and strength. So remembering what I was saying before, you want the voice forward, you want to articulate, you want to get things moving at the front of your instrument, but not to the exclusion of the other areas. So that's what the middle voice will give you. And then the head voice, what that gives you when you can connect to that with the other 2, is that gives your voice a brightness and a ring. And importantly, as a speaker, it allows your voice to project with maximum power and minimal effort. So when you combine all 3, you've got a voice that projects with brightness, you've got precision and clarity, and you've got depth and warmth. And isn't that what everyone wants as a speaker? But generally speaking, we tend to live, particularly if we're untrained, we tend to live in one of those predominantly. And we don't even know we're living in one of them. It's like a fish in water. We don't even know. We just think, oh, well, my voice is shrilly and nasally, and that's just how it is. But actually, when we can start to connect to the other two and combine them, that's when the voice is really engaging, powerful, expressive, and clear. So the first thing I'd like you to do is record yourself and see if you can notice, where do I feel when I listen to my voice is predominantly sitting? Is it chesty? Is it mouthy? Is it heady? I'm using sort of very general terms here. Again, obviously the voice isn't in the head or the chest or the mouth, but just to use that to help you. So see if you can start to become a little bit more aware just by listening. And then I would like you to speak. I'd like you to read a paragraph or read something, an article. Give yourself a good minute of reading and see if you can start to feel the vibrations wherever you identified, okay, well, I'm very chesty. I can hear a lot of heaviness and weight in my voice. So now when you speak, can you start to feel those sympathetic vibrations in your chest when you speak? If you can't, it's fine. This is really an exercise in awareness. So record yourself, listen back, then speak for at least a minute and see if you can feel those vibrations. Then hopefully you've got some understanding of where your voice currently is predominantly. So now we're going to go through the different areas and see if we can kind of activate them. So whichever ones you're not particularly activating, I want you to put more focus on those. So first of all, if you feel like your voice is very top heavy or mouthy and you want to connect to more of the chesty resonance, I'd like you to put your hands on your chest and I'd like you to just say, ah, ah, and just feel that vibration in your chest. Ah. I mean, for me, it's immediate. It's like an immediate sort of tingle coming from my chest. So see if you can just feel into that. What does that feel like to you? Where do you feel it? Not just the vibrations here, but where else do you feel it? And then you can go to a yeah, yeah. Still feeling those sympathetic vibrations in the chest. So, ah, yeah. So as long as you can feel that kind of vibration here, then you know you're in the right spot. Now, if you are someone who predominantly lives in that head resonance, so the voice is nasal or shrill, you're probably going to find this challenging to start with. That's okay. Just be patient with yourself. And vice versa. If you're someone that lives in your chest, you're probably going to find the head resonance a challenge to access straight away. The next one is the mouth, the forward sort of mouth resonance, for want of a better word, or the middle voice. Again, this is really important for clarity, precision. We need this. Doesn't matter what your accent is, doesn't matter what your language is. This is where the voice comes out. So it's really important. We have to move the lips, we have to soften the jaw, we have to move the tongue. It's all part of the process. But for the purposes of feeling these sympathetic vibrations, you've probably seen me do this on other videos in relation to other things, but there's a reason, because this exercise is so good. It kind of ticks lots of voice boxes, so to speak. So I'd like you to say a hmm, hmm. Now, the important thing with this is you want to feel as much of a vibration around your mouth and your nose as possible. If you need to put your hands over this, see if you can feel it. Sometimes actually putting skin on skin helps you to tap into that. Really important that you feel this forward. A couple of things that people tend to do wrong with this, which I've seen many times, either they tense their lips so it becomes and then the neck tenses and everything else tenses, or they pull the sound back. So it's a lips soft, jaw soft, neck relaxed, chest relaxed. Nothing is really engaging. Apart from you will feel some tingle around your lips and maybe your nose. And then if you can find that, then you can go into a mum. So mum, mum. As long as you can keep that buzzy feeling around your mouth, great. So this is how you can begin to access that mouthy resonance, that middle voice resonance. And then the final one is the head voice resonance. If you're predominantly in the chesty place or the mouthy place and your voice lacks that kind of ring and that brightness, and you probably will find that you struggle to project your voice, if this is you, without straining and pushing. So you're going to stay then on the but we're going to put a little bit of an arc in the sound. And what I'd like you to do is put your fingers in your ears. So you're going to be going, you're going to be going up. And it's going to sound heady, maybe sound a little bit breathy, but you don't need to open your mouth. So you're staying in that, you're just going to go up. But put your fingers in your ears because it does help you to feel the sympathetic vibrations in your head. So explore those three areas and see if you can start to access them. And then what you can do is start to connect these. So the goal ultimately is we can combine all three when we speak. And this is where we get the full resonance of the voice. So we're not just living at the bottom or living at the top or living in the middle. We're kind of seeing the voice as this sort of multi-layered cake of sound. And the more layers of sound we have, the more resonant the voice is. So think about this as like 3 layers of a cake. Bit random, I know. So let's see now if we can combine all three. So we're going to go from an E, U, R. So we're going through the vowels E, U, R. We're always thinking forward. And we're going to see if we can deliberately connect to these different parts of our voice. So E, U, R. E, U, R. So this is the first step. See if you can now, at will, connect to these three, one after the other. So first of all, we've done them separately, and now we're going to try and connect all three. E, U, R. And see if you can feel the sound sort of moving between the head, the mouth, and the chest. And then when you feel you've got that, you can start to put this into simple sentences. This is where it becomes a bit tricky. Again, this process could take you weeks, months, maybe years, but just start where you are. Because if you've always lived in the chest, you're going to find it hard to get into the head. If you've always lived in the head, you're going to find it hard to get into the chest straight away. So you just have to be patient. And also remembering a lot of this is conditioned. So for a lot of people, accessing the headier parts of their voice feels more vulnerable, feels more exposing, because we can be heard more when we tap into that headier resonance in the voice. This is the whole point of why we want to as a speaker, because it allows the voice to cut through sound. It's also one of the reasons why people don't want to access it unconsciously. So just be gentle with yourself, just be patient, and then see if you can more mindfully combine all three when you speak. So you're almost now seeing your voice as this three-tiered layer of this three-tiered cake of sound almost, you know. So when you speak, you're now thinking, okay, heady, mouthy, chesty, to kind of combine into this really powerful, rich, expressive voice. But try not to run before you can walk. Do it stage by stage. Connect to these different parts of your voice first, then try and connect to them simultaneously, like one after the other, and then see with some simple sentences if you can start to access a little bit of a ring in your voice, a bit of strength and precision in your voice, and a bit of warmth all at the same time. So if you'd like some help with this, if this is like, oh my God, I know this is important, but I don't know how to do this for myself, then please feel free to schedule a 30-minute voice discovery call, and we can explore your voice, have a chat about what's going on. I can give you some insight into your voice and share how I can help you, because this is absolutely essential if you want to step into your power, find greater impact, find greater expression dynamics. You need to be able to access the full resonance in your voice. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week on my next video.